welcome back to another episode of Into 99 Podcast, where we've got 99 cards because Commander is number one. I am your Necromancer with all the answers, Necrozac, and I'm joined by my lovely friends, Dan, Lotus, and the newest addition to the team, Slothy. How you guys doing today?
Hey, yo, doing great. Lots of new additions. How about you?
I'm not doing too bad. Zach, what is going on with you this week?
Oh, nothing much, big guy. As I've been talking to you guys, I've finally built 2 decks in paper, and I've been super excited about that. Hopefully, they'll make their way onto the podcast relatively soon. But I've just been getting back out and going to the LGS and just kind of like I don't know, discovering or rediscovering cards that I didn't know were, printed like this or printed in this set. So that's been kind of fun. So like I mentioned, new person on the cast today. We got Slothy. Slothy, you want to say hi and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, first off, thanks for having me here with you guys. Been a fan of the podcast for a while. But yeah, I'm Slothy. I did a lot of stuff with the Cryptic Commander podcast and my own stuff, and started talking with Dan months and months ago. Got together, played a couple of games, and yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool finding out that we actually live so close together and both were doing podcasts in the similar spheres.
Yeah, that was still kind of blows my mind.
He does that. He kind of hooks on and reels you in.
I make people want to play Magic. What can I say? Today's episode, we're going to talk about a commander that I just haven't shut up about ever since it's printed because it's hilarious. I've played this deck in multiple games. If you build a deck like this, you're not going to play against just like 1 or 2 people. You will be the arch enemy in a deck like this. It's hilarious to do, but just understand that like it's Toxrill. So like we're playing slugs and salt kills slugs. Your friends are going to be salty with you. It is what it is. We'll jump right into Toxrill because I think it's just a hilarious commander. I've thought so ever since I first started seeing this card. I call it Doug and the Slug, hilarious card. So Toxrill the Corrosive is a black-blue commander. He's 5 double black for a legendary creature, slug horror 7/7, and a 7/7 for 7. Pretty good stats already. At the beginning of each end step, put a slime counter on each creature you don't control. That's each, not yours, each. So everyone's turn it happens. The bigger the group, the worse this is for them. Creatures you don't control get -1/-1 for each slime counter on them. And then whenever a creature...
Slug counter.
Slug counter. I caught that. They are slug counters. Grow up. Whenever a creature you control with a slime or slug counter on it dies, create a 1/1 black slug creature token. There's a lot of slug words on this card. And then there's still another one. Yeah, it's 1 black, 1 blue, sacrifice a slug, draw a card. So this constantly just is going to wipe the board from everyone. It's going to be the largest like target for removal that you've ever seen. No one's going to let this sit on the board because every time in a normal pod, every time it goes around, everything's -4/-4 except for your creatures. Every time they die, you get more creatures, and those creatures give you access to card draw. Like, the deck builds itself, in my opinion. There's so many right ways to build it, but they all are hilarious because you're just killing every creature. Like, good luck playing an elf deck if somebody slaps this on the table.
It's like R&D went, what if we made Elish Norn, but worse?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It only takes 2 turns around to kill Elish Norn, too.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
That's what's super funny about this card. It's like, at least because it's definitely like a Staxy type commander, which you can build it that way. Like, there's plenty of different ways to build this. But when I first saw this, I was like, okay, yeah, like typically if the table sees an Elish Norn, they're like, well, this sucks. If someone sees a Toxrill, it's like, well, my creatures are just going to die. With Elish Norn, your cards either die the same turn she comes down, or they're just out of range of dying, right? Whereas Toxrill, the longer it goes in that rotation, they just get smaller and smaller, and it becomes such a problem. It's so cool.
I've been playing in a huge group lately. Like, we've been playing a lot of like 7 and 8 player commander games. And it's so funny in a game like that. It's just everything -8/-8 every turn is awesome.
See, this makes me want to revisit building decks that have what's her name? Sloven Outcast. She's like came from New Phyrexia. She says she's a legendary green creature. Says you can have Neg1. Yeah. I've literally been thinking the more I've been seeing it about I've seen decks like this, putting her just in my green decks just to be safe.
But
it's like people
but the problem is she won't stop it because she can't get -1/-1 counters, and these aren't -1/-1 counters. They're simply slime counters.
Yep.
That is true.
Simply slime. And that's the other problem is even if your creatures manage to survive, they still have the slime counters on them for when it comes back out. And it's so funny.
Yeah, they do persist. They just don't go away when Toxrill leaves.
Yeah. I had someone actually have Ozolith on the battlefield during this. So all of the counters, the slime counters kept going on the Ozolith every time something died.
Oh,
so if they
great.
wanted to actually use their Ozolith for their 1/1 counters, they had to take all the slime with it.
Yeah, I feel like at that point it's just lost.
Yeah,
just
they
lost.
weren't happy. Again, it's I make no. This deck will be fun if you play it. If you are the one playing the deck, I promise you, no matter who you are in your playstyle, you will think it's funny. No one in your group will like it. I guarantee that. You're going to be the target. Depending how badly the game goes, you may be the target for the rest of the night. And I'm all right with that personally because I think funny's funny.
I guess I'm just trying to think of ways around this. I guess Hex Parasite could potentially do it, but you have to get, yeah. It's basically like you have to do it and then hope to kill you, basically, is what's happening.
So its big downside is that it is kind of costed out of the game. In black and blue, you don't have lots. If this had green in it, oh, let me tell you, if this had green in it. But it didn't. They at least gave me that. So you have to ramp to get this out, right? Because the faster it comes out, the faster it's effective, especially against people's mana dorks. Killing everyone's birds of paradise, it's hilarious.
You're a monster.
There's no way around it.
But then
funny.
I'm sitting in front of one right here. Like I literally have my Toxrill deck right here as well.
Yeah. Like I love the deck, and I was talking to Lotus about it. I put a lot of mana rocks in the deck because it's a 7-mana commander, and I can't play Cultivate because it's not in green. So
yeah, I've gone through your deck list, and there are similarities between mine and yours, but we've both definitely gone in different directions.
I was gonna say let's go through your list and then let's talk about how Lotus would build hers and then like what I started doing because we had this conversation. I put Toxrill in my Mimeoplasm deck and the 99, and I'm never going to pay 7 mana for it. Even if I built Toxrill, I would never pay 7 mana for Toxrill.
Yeah,
we'll get into that. Oh no, we would get around that fine. There would be no issue there.
We'll start it off on the artifacts because that's my easiest way to get some of these high cost things out. My first artifact in the deck, we've got Bolas Citadel. Anything high cost is great. Life is a resource in Magic, and you've got to use it sometimes. 3 and triple black, you can look at the top card of your library anytime. You can play the top card, you can cast it and pay life equal to its CMC rather than pay its cost. And you can sack 10 non-land permanents. Each opponent loses 10 life. And a lot of times you actually are going to be able to just go off and sack all these slugs, right? They sit around. Sometimes you play against prison decks or decks that you can't swing in your slug army at everyone. This is kind of a nice alternative win con because you will amass a monstrous pile of slugs at the cost of your friendships.
That's fine. Next we have Commander Sphere. 3 for an artifact. You can tap it to add any color in your commander's color identity, and then you can sack it to draw a card. Pretty, staple. It has commander in the name. I'm pretty sure we've all used it at one point in time.
Yeah, a lot of these mana rocks are going to be pretty similar to everyone. Like Darksteel Ignite, we've got 3 mana, indestructible. Add 1 mana of any color.
Mm-hmm. The indestructibility is actually really relevant, I feel like, especially in the meta nowadays.
True. I do like it. We have Dimir Locket. A lot of my rocks, I do like that they give me the ability to draw. Dimir Locket, 3, you can tap it for 1 black or 1 blue. Pay 4 of any of the hybrids, so black or blue. Sack it, draw 2 cards. Good early, good late.
Yeah, Dimir Signet, 1 and tap for a blue-black for 2 mana again.
Yeah, my only not artifact, like my not ramp artifact, I think maybe I have 1 more. But it's Dingus Staff because it's hilarious. 4 mana whenever a creature's put into a graveyard from play. 2 damage to that creature's controller. I've killed myself with this more than once. I'm far ahead. I have Dingus Staff out and somebody hits me with a good old Wrath of God, and I just thank you guys for playing. Have a great night. Because as everyone knows who's seen me stream or who's listened before, I just like to amass a lot of tokens. A lot of the time I don't actually try win the game with them. I just think it's funny to be like, haha, I have 700 slugs. This is hilarious.
Rakdos Charm.
Yeah, Rakdos Charm gets me. Rakdos Charm would get me in this deck a lot of the time too. But yeah, Dingus Staff is the same thing. I kill myself repeatedly with this. But it's hilarious. It's fun. It's a great time for everyone. Zach, take away the next one.
We have Drake's Skull Cameo. It's 3 for an artifact. You can tap it to add a blue or a black to your mana pool. Another cool rock. Slothy, you want to take this one?
Absolutely. The next one is Thought Stone. It's 2 generic. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any color that a land an opponent controls could produce.
Love it. I'm glad you put this one in here. I'm glad you put this next one in here, Dan. Firemind Vessel.
I honestly love this card.
Yeah, it's sweet. It's really good in this deck, actually. Firemind Vessel is 4. It's an artifact. It enters tap, and then you can tap it to add 2 mana of different colors. So there's your activation for Toxrill at least once.
Mm-hmm. I put Howling Mine in every deck. It's just a card that I think is good in every deck. I think it buys a little table goodwill, but I also just like to draw more cards. The game goes a little faster. I get to see everyone's deck a little bit better if they didn't build draw, and if they did build draw, they get more draw. I just have no problems with Howling Mine overall. Howling Mine, for anyone who doesn't know, 2 mana, beginning of each player's draw step. If it's untapped, they draw an additional card. It only ever taps in a deck like Urza. Only an animal would tap it. My brothers and the CEDH groups. But other than that, like I put Howling Mine in a lot. I think I have it in like well over 100 decks. It's got to stop going up in price.
I mean, I think you're putting it up in price.
I am my own problem.
You're artificially inflating the price.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
I have my own cards.
Mana Geode I do like. 3 mana, you get to scry 1 and tap for 1 mana of any color. I quite like that in a deck where ramp is a bit difficult.
Mm-hmm.
We have Mana Vault because we're trying to ramp hard. We want this slug out fast. 1 mana doesn't untap during your untap step. At the beginning of your upkeep, you can pay 4 if you do untap it. At the beginning of your draw step, if it's tapped, it deals 1 damage to you, and it taps for 3 mana. That does really get it going out. I know that you could put like Jeweled Lotus and stuff in it, but I'm not really a fan of Jeweled Lotus in a casual format. Like it depends. It depends how you play. The way I play, it's not really acceptable because like I'm trying to be annoying with my Toxrill deck. So like having him out on turn 1 or turn 2 with like a Mana Volt, I get it. I don't need to go that hard, right? I'm a problem enough.
Next, we have Manalith. It's 3 for an artifact. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any color.
Ooh, the next one is actually relevant to the deck because I keep killing myself. I've killed myself more than other people have killed me in this deck. Midnight Clock is 2 and a blue, taps for a blue mana. You can pay 2 and a blue, put an hour counter on it. At the beginning of each upkeep, put an hour counter on it. When the 12th hour counter is put on it, shuffle your hand and graveyard into your library, then draw 7 cards. Exile it. This deck you can really, really overdraw. The draw ability into your commander is extremely strong. It's very, very powerful. Lotus's deck went a little. We'll put the deck list up as well, but Lotus's went a little more into the draw with like Teferi's Ageless Insight, that kind of stuff. You need to run things like Jason Labman if you're doing that because the amount that you can just draw, especially like I've got like 20 mana rocks in this deck, right? So a lot of the times I'm just waiting till my end step, killing 4 things to draw 4 cards before my turn starts, and then untapping. Man, if this deck had green in it, and I could have like put like any of those like good like your creatures tap for mana, oh, that's the dream.
I think every deck that doesn't have green has that question. Man, what if this had green in it?
Green's so good.
Does that make green a problem?
Yeah, definitely. Moonsilver Key is just a great card from the new set. It's 2 mana, 1 and a tap. Sack it, search for an artifact card with a mana ability or a basic land, reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle. I really just like the ability to either go fetch my Mana Vault or go and grab like one of my better mana rocks, Firemind Vessel, something like that, or just go get a land if I'm not getting the color I need early.
I mean, I would be searching for a Phyrexian Altar or an Ashnod's Altar, personally.
Yeah, I don't put those in here. There's enough.
I mean, I did, so...
Those would be great cards in it. We've got Pyramid of the Pantheon, which I don't really see used too much. I kind of like that card. It's 1 mana, then it has, for 2, tap it, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, put a brick counter on it, and then add 3 mana of any 1 color to your mana pool, activate it only if there's 3 or more brick counters on it. A lot of time I have extra mana sitting around because I'm just being annoying. So it ramps itself up pretty quickly.
I could see that.
I think.
Next
I love this card.
Yeah, Replicating Ring is the next card that you got on here. It's 3 for a snow artifact. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any color. Then at the beginning of your upkeep, put a night counter on Replicating Ring. Then if it has 8 or more counters on it, remove all the counters and create 8 colorless snow artifact tokens named Replicating Ring with tap, add 1 mana of any color.
I put this in a proliferate deck before. My Kai card deck is proliferate, like the bird. Mm-hmm. And it's annoying. It's very, very annoying if you have like a proliferate theme, which Lotus does. But like this card really, really goes off too much if you can get it going.
I might have to add this one.
I love this card. It's I built a whole deck around it and Svella. It's the Svella. It was one of my favorite decks. It's just such a silly deck. Every time, I don't really take decks apart, but I pass over decks a lot, and that's one of the ones that I just never pass over. It's just always been a really good time to play. It's really fun to use the ability to cast things for free. We should talk about Svella, really. It's a great card. We have Soul Ring. This is not the Soul. If you're looking at the list, this is not the Soul Ring that I have in the deck because Commander Edition Black, to my knowledge, isn't out yet. Otherwise, I would have it.
Yeah, it's not yet.
But it's a great looking Soul Ring. Soul Ring doesn't need to be explained. And then my last artifact in the deck is Worn Power Stone. 3 comes into play tapped, taps for 2 mana, play it as a mana source. Great card, I think.
Where's your Talisman of Dominance? Where's the love for the talismans?
There's not enough room for the talismans. We built with whatever was in front of me when I was building the hilarious deck.
Manalith. Take out Manalith, put in a talisman.
Nah, I like Manalith. Again, we don't need to go that hard. We can be a little chill in the deck. We don't have to make everyone hate us.
People sleep on talismans.
Talking about making everyone hate us, let's get into our sorceries first. We have Beacon of Unrest. Card after Zach's Heart. 3 black, put target artifact or creature from a graveyard on the battlefield under your control. Shuffle it into its owner's library. We're getting rid of people's creatures. We want them. If I was Zach, I would have built way deeper into that theme. It's hilarious, but I was slightly thinking of you when I put that card in the deck.
Yeah, I love that Beacon rebuys itself. It makes me so happy.
Do you want to take this next one, Slothy?
Sure. This next one is Consuming Tide. It's 2 generic and 2 blue. Each player chooses a non-land permanent they control. Return all non-land permanents not chosen this way to their owner's hand. Then you draw a card for each opponent who has more cards in their hand than you.
I like that card.
That's a lot of fun.
I like this one.
Next, we have Diabolic Intent. It's 1 black for a sorcery. As additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a creature. You search your library for a card, put in your hand, and shuffle your library.
You sacrifice the slugs for glory. We have
Distant Melody. 3 and a blue. Back from Lorwyn. Choose target creature type. Draw a card for each permanent type. Sorry, let me read this properly. Draw a card for each slug you control.
Yes, correct.
But yeah, no, choose a creature type, draw a card for each permanent you control of the chosen type.
Yeah. Inevitable Betrayal is just cheap bribery. I love it. You search target opponent's library for a creature, put it on the battlefield under your control, then that player shuffles. I like it. Suspend 3 cost mana. It's a good card to just have waiting. Again, I'm not trying to make friends in this deck. I know what I'm doing. I know who I am.
I really like we talked about it, I think 2 weeks ago, where I was saying I really like this cycle of stuff from Modern Horizons 2. I called them Glimpse because I was thinking of the Glimpse card that does the same thing, or it does something similar, but the suspend ones like this are just awesome.
Yeah. I like how they're trying to recreate reserve list cards, but without reprinting them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good way around it. Next, we have Languish. It's 2 black for a sorcery. All creatures get -4/-4 until end of turn.
It's just, somebody has something that didn't quite die. Let's get rid of it.
Yeah.
Good flavor text. Life is such a fragile thing. Do you want to take this next one, Slothy?
Sure. Next one is a card that I'm very familiar with in my Bruvac deck. It's Maddening Cacophony. It's 1 and a blue, but it's got Kicker for 3 and a blue. And each opponent mills 8 cards. If this spell was kicked, instead each opponent mills half their library rounded up.
That's rough in Bruvac first off. That's real rough in Bruvac. But at 2 mana, each opponent milling 8 cards, I think is funny. At its kicked value, them losing half their deck, I think is funnier.
Yeah.
And again, this deck is about me laughing. It's not really about the health of the group. It's about me thinking something is funny. And I do think that's funny. Zach, do you want to take the last one?
Sure, it's Stolen by the Fae. We have X blue sorcery. Return target creature card with converted mana cost X to its owner's hand. You would create X 1/1 blue fairy creature tokens with flying.
Just always like that card.
Yeah.
It can get you a bunch of things for really nothing, and it would just annoy someone.
Yeah. We'll rip through the instants quickly as well, because there's not many. This deck's not really about interaction or protection. Again, I know what I'm doing. I'm here for a good time, not a long time. So I have good old counterspell, just double blue, counter target spell. I also have Drown in Dreams, which I love this card. It's X, 2 and a blue, choose one. If you can control a commander, you can choose both. Target player draws X cards or mills twice X cards. Basically a blue Sun Zenith that doesn't shuffle, but can also make me mill whoever's annoyed me the most for like 15.
Yeah.
And again, I'm fine with that. I'm a happy person with that. We've got Opt, 1 blue scry card, scry 1 draw card. I like that. Zach?
Pongify 1 blue instant, destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated. Its controller creates a 3/3 green 8 creature token.
I love that card so much.
Well, yeah, they're not going to keep that 8 for long.
No. We have Rewind next. It's 2 double blue for an instant. Counter target spell. Untap up to 4 lands.
Kind of a free one.
Mm-hmm.
If you,
it is free. It is free.
Yeah. We have Siphon Insight, which I don't really see played too much, but I actually really, really like the card. 1 black, 1 blue for an instant. Look at the top 2 cards of target opponent's library. Exile one of them face down and put the other at the bottom of that library. You may look at and play the exiled card for as long as it remains exiled, and you can spend mana as if it were mana of any color, and it has flashback for 3. I love to respond to people's tutors with this. I think it's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
If you like do something to the top of the deck, like an enlightened tutor, or something to the top, I just like to take it. I think that's funny. It makes me happy.
I like you've got Suspend in here. Single blue instant, exile target creature, and put 2 time counters on it. If it doesn't have Suspend, it gains Suspend. I played this last week in a commander game and suspended my opponent's commander, and they had the difficult choice of recasting it for 2 extra or not having it for 2 turns.
I've actually personally used it to protect Toxrill.
Yeah?
I can see that too. I'm taking this next one because I really like the card. Thrilling Encore, 4 and a black for an instant. Put onto the battlefield under your control all creature cards and all graveyards that were put there from the battlefield this turn.
I love that card.
I have played this before, and it feels good.
I barely see this being played when it should be. Board wipe, grab everything that went.
Mm-hmm.
Again, a card I do use defensively. If somebody kills my Toxrill, he comes back.
Yep.
The slug returns. And then I actually had to put this in for a Rakdos Charm reason. I have to be able to counter my own death triggers if someone board wipes me. I just make too many slugs. It just is what it is. The dingus staff giveth, it taketh away. It's Whirlwind Denial. 2 and a blue for each spell and ability your opponents control, counter unless... Oh, it's opponents control, so I kill myself every time. But still, regardless, it's still... Oh, no, it's for their death triggers. We're still good. For each spell and ability your opponents control, counter unless its controller pays 4. So if they have like a Slimefoot deck and they're trying to kill you with like 50 Saproleans, no. I love Whirlwind Denial. And I love the flavor text on it. No, and no.
Yeah.
Let's... do we want to do enchantments or creatures first?
Let's do enchantments and then move on to the meat of the deck.
I love the enchantment section of the deck, though. Zach, please take this one away.
I'm probably going to take a couple here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Black Market, 3 double black for an enchantment. Whenever a creature dies, put a charge counter on Black Market. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, add a black for each charge counter on Black Market. I feel like this gets very ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a great way to get Toxrill back out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Next, we have Dictate of Erebos, 3 double black for an enchantment with flash. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature.
Yeah, that was rough.
Mm-hmm. I enjoy that. All right, I'm done. Someone else can take over.
Slothy, you want to take this one?
Sure. The next one is Everwatching Threshold for 2 and a blue. Whenever an opponent attacks you and or a planeswalker you control with 1 or more creatures, draw a card.
I like it.
Zach, I think you want this one too.
Yep. Grafted Identity, 2 double blue for an enchantment aura. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature. Enchant creature. You control enchanted creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1. It's sweet. I like this card.
The next card is a card that I was able to pick up before it spiked, because I've been looking for a deck to put this in for a while. And this is just, again, it's funny. That's not going to make you friends. Double black, or a 4 and double black for an enchantment, Infernal Genesis. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, they put the top card of their library into their graveyard. He or she then puts X/1/1 black minion creatures onto the battlefield, where X is that card's CMC. So you just, whatever, you mill their top card, and then you get slugs for everything, because Toxrill kills all 1/1s at the end step, each end step. I love Infernal Genesis. It's been fun. Every time I've played it, I've lost great cards to it myself, and it's hilarious every time. I've hit my black market with Infernal Genesis. I don't care. Hilarious. Now, Lotus, take this one. Oh, what?
How many times? Well, I was going to talk about this next card. Let Lotus read it, then I have a question.
Okay, so Revel in Riches, which I'm also running, 4 and a black enchantment. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, create a colorless treasure artifact token with sack it, add 1 mana of any color. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 10 or more treasures, you win the game, which, as Toxrill is obviously at the end step, could win you on your upkeep.
Yeah.
How many times have you won with this card?
0. I sacrifice my treasures.
Whatever.
I just like to threaten the table. I like everyone to know that I can win before the upkeep.
Well,
trigger on the stack, sacrifice 50 treasures to make slug draws.
That took the wind out of my sails. I'm reading the next card.
Yeah.
Soul Ransom. 2 blue and a black for an enchantment or enchant creature. You control enchanted creature. Discard 2 cards. Soul Ransom's controller sacrifices it, then draws 2 cards. Only an opponent may activate this ability.
I like that one.
It's good. It's so fun. Finally, we have Well of Ideals. It's 5 and a blue for an enchantment. When Well of Ideas enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards. At the beginning of each other player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. At the beginning of your draw step, draw 2 additional cards.
Yep. Again, I just like to draw cards.
Mm-hmm.
I have 1 land in the deck that's worth mentioning. There's Witch's Cottage is nice to get a card back to the top, but the card that every one of these decks should run, and I don't usually like to say that you should run a card, but you should in this deck. Like, it's regardless if you have the budget for this card, it belongs in this deck. It is Forbidden Orchard. You tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Whenever you tap it, target opponent creates a 1/1 colorless spirit. This does everything you want in the deck. It gives people creatures that will die and make you slugs. It produces mana of any color. It's a great card.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd say that one.
Yeah, it's such a fun one. And Reliquary Tower, because again, you can really, really draw.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the lands are kind of basic lands, like I have Underground River, Underground Sea. Kind of big differences between those two, but they in essence do the same thing.
And sort of normal players like me will run things like Watery Grave.
Yeah.
They're all fine.
I like playing the dual effects. The enters tapped, indestructible, tap for blue or a black. I like cards like that.
Yeah, they are good cards. I like them.
Yeah. I'm running a lot of mana rocks. I don't really need a crazy mana base. You do need that card though. It's not even a want card. You need it. Now, before we get into creatures, there's way better creatures that you could put in this deck. I'm going to be the first to admit it. This deck really should have different creatures in it. But it's about me having fun. I think it's funny. There's a lot of like way, way better things you can do. There's a lot of better themes. But I just think that these are the funniest ones. I have a great laugh playing these things. And again, I built this deck on what was on hand. So please tell me what you would put in the deck, of course, obviously. And it's probably better than what I got here. But it's funny. All right, continue.
We have a Crowan Horse, 4 for an enchantment creature horse, 0/4 defender. When it enters the battlefield, an opponent gains control of it. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent creates a 1/1 white soldier creature token.
Yeah.
Yep.
More people to kill. Give me slugs. Lotus, you want to take this one?
So yeah, you've got Anowon the Ruin Sage, 3 black vampire shaman, 4/3. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player sacrifices a non-vampire creature. So you're forcing that sack.
Zach?
Butcher Malakir, 5 double black, vampire warrior, 5/4 with flying. When Butcher Malakir or another creature you control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature.
I've never
Very
seen
good.
Butcher make anyone happy.
It makes me happy. Even if I'm being played against me, I still like the card.
I do have to. Yeah, I was gonna say I do have to let Zach take the next one too.
Yeah, this literally goes in all of my decks now. In my Carador deck, my Carador Yomori deck, it's such a star. It's Slothy Voidwalker, double black for a 3/2 Slothy Rogue. It has Shadow, and if a card would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, instead exile it with a Void counter on it. You can then tap and sacrifice Slothy Voidwalker. Choose an exiled card your opponent owns with a Void counter on it. You may play this turn without paying its mana cost.
Such a good card.
It's so good. So good.
The exile is hilarious as well.
Mm-hmm.
It really, really does hose like a graveyard recursion deck, but its ability to bring something back is awesome.
Yeah, like I said, Carador Yomori, this card's basically just, I get free things all the time. It's wonderful.
I really, really like that card. Do you want to take the next one, Slothy?
Sure. Next one is Eradicator Valkyrie for 2 and 2 black. It's an Angel Berserker for 3. And it's got Flying, Lifelink, and Hexproof from Planeswalkers. And it's got Boast for 1 and a black. Sacrifice a creature. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or Planeswalker.
That's super good in this deck.
Yeah.
I do like the next one as well. Evil Twin is just funny to me. It's 2 and 1 blue, 1 black. You can have it enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it gains 1 blue, 1 black. Destroy target creature with the same name as its creature.
So what do you have an Evil Twin come in as, Dan?
Usually it's whatever someone else has annoyed me with.
I figured that was the answer you were going to give me.
It's usually something that is like, oh yeah, like like someone has like the Shylie, where I can't like target their things. I just kill this with Shylie.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. I like Evil Twin. It's like I said, this deck could be better. You should be running, again, I don't like to say should, but you should have like a Sakashima and stuff in here. Like the going harder on the Toxrills is probably the right play, but it's not as funny in my opinion. It's the obvious thing to do. I probably do have Sakashima in here at some point. We'll get there. Lotus, you want to take this next one?
Yeah, Gisa the Glorious Resurrector, 2 black for a 4/4 human wizard. If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. At the beginning of your upkeep, put all creature cards exiled with Gisa Glorious Resurrector onto the battlefield under your control. They gain Decayed.
I really like that card. It's very fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you won't get the death triggers for Toxrill, but I mean, you'll get their stuff.
Yeah, which is perfectly fine.
Getting the creatures is better than the slugs. The slugs, not that good. That's the secret.
No, they're 1/1s.
Yeah. They're a 1/1 draw engine, and I can draw a lot in this deck. I have enough slugs. I would love to take it. I haven't had anyone play an elf deck into it yet, but I would love to get someone's like whole like field of like Priest of Titania, like Land of War Elves, Azuri, all that stuff. I would love to have an elf ball deck under my black blue commander. The next one I've actually found is really, really fun to play. Do you want to take this one, Slothy?
Next one is Grim Hireling. It's a 3/2 Tiefling Rogue for 3 and a black. Whenever one or more creatures you control deals combat damage to a player, create true treasure tokens. You can tap a black to sacrifice X treasures. Target creature gets -X/-X till end of turn, and activate only as a sorcery. I like that with Revel in Riches.
Yeah, that's really funny.
Something else to do it. I wish you could do it at instant speed. I don't know why they had to tack on the only sorcery speed thing. Kind of bums me out a little bit, but it's still fun. The next one, obviously, in a deck where you're trying to kill everything, you should run things to draw like this. Harvester of Souls just is any attrition-based deck as Zach would like to build. It's 4 double black with a 5/5 Demon Death Touch. Whenever another non-token creature dies, you may draw a card. I like it. It doesn't force me to overdraw, but it really does fill my hand back up.
All right, I'm taking a bunch of cards so you guys can just sit back and chill.
Oh, please go ahead.
We have Hunted Phantasm, which when I saw this, I was super, super excited because I love this card. It's 1 double blue for a 4/6 spirit. It is unblockable, and when it comes into play, you put 5 1/1 red goblin creature tokens into play under target opponent's control. This is hilarious because you get a 4/6 unblockable that's going to net you, what is it, 5 slugs?
Creatures, yeah. Slug
That's
City.
great. Pairing with that, we have Massacre Worm, 3 triple black for a 6/5 worm. When it ETBs, creatures your opponents can control get -2/-2 until end of turn. And whenever a creature an opponent control dies, that player loses 2 life. Once again, only upsides here because this is going to come in. kill a bunch of creatures, you're going to get a bunch of slugs. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I can't afford a Meat Hook Massacre, and this is doing a similar job.
I should have put Meat Hook Massacre in here. It's a great card, but I just didn't pull enough of them to put them in every silly deck.
One.
I pulled 3. I pulled pretty good.
I opened 1 and I traded it in so I could build other decks.
I didn't even know it was didn't have like that it had good value. I just put it into immediately like decks like what is it? Teysa Karlov and then Krav and Regna, like those kind of decks.
Mm-hmm.
Just like my normal Orzhov, I'm gonna sacrifice a bunch of creatures, death triggers kind of deck. So it made sense there. Oh, and then I put it in Teyam because I'm constantly killing my own creatures in Teyam, and I think that's fun.
Yeah.
The next card, are you taking this one too, Zach?
Oh, yeah, I'll let you know when I'm done.
Okay, please.
We're on Necrotic Ooze, 2 double black for a 4/3 ooze. As long as Necrotic Ooze is on the battlefield, it has all activated abilities of all creature cards in all graveyards. I love this card so much. It just does everything. And the art is great for, what it does.
Yeah.
Next, we have Ornithopter of Paradise. It's 2 for an artifact, creature Thopter, 0/2, flying, and you tap to add 1 mana of any color. I love this card. I've literally been putting it in all of my decks. I've just been jamming it into everything because it's such good value. And I don't have an endless supply of Birds of Paradise like it seems most people do. So this is fine for me. I'd rather pay 1 more and be able to afford to put it in every deck.
Yeah, I'm also, that's exactly how I feel about this card. I have loved it. Everyone's like, oh, it's 2 mana. I'm like, okay, but you can still play it if you play Soul Ring on turn 1. It's a very, very nice turn 1 play if you get Soul Ring, Ornithopter. I really, really like the Ornithopter of Paradise that way. But short of that, it's a great card. In decks that can't run it, or you just, like you said, you don't want to spend, like, what's Birds of Paradise, like $15 right now?
It depends on which version you get. I bought mine for 10 American like last week for my Caradorian Worry deck, but like whatever, like that's a deck I don't mind to spend extra money or extra funds on because that's like my pet deck, you know what I mean?
I just think it slots in great. It's a 0/2 body. It's a great early blocker. It has flying. I have in a bunch of decks that run equipment, and I think it's funny to put swords on them.
Yeah, and 2, it comes in the foil etch and the old border, which I really like that. Yep. Whereas birds, like, there's cool birds, but there's not a foil etch bird in retro frame. All right, I'm taking these next 2, and then I'll be done.
I was going to say, I love this next card. I've found so much value of it so far.
Yes, it's Overcharge Amalgam. It's 2 double blue for a 3/3 zombie horror with flash, flying, and exploit. And when Overcharge Amalgam exploits a creature, counter target spell or activated ability or triggered ability. It's so good. Cards like this, like I love exploit as a mechanic because typically, like I am playing stuff that has either graveyard recursion or some type of aristocrat package. And Overcharge Amalgam is statted great. It has good evasion and flying. Just a sweet card, and it comes in black and white, which is also, like I was telling you guys, like I love this. I want more cards like this.
I love using it on people trying to get a Planeswalker emblem off. So funny.
Mm-hmm.
So funny. They think that I haven't paid attention. They think that they're getting their Teferi emblem. Nuh-uh. Not with this 4 mana.
Not today. And two, depending on your situation, you get to draw a card too. Not only do you get to like make someone sad, but you get to draw a card with a decent body. All right. Last one, and then you guys can take back over because I literally run almost every card that I just read. And this one is no exception. It goes in every deck I play. It's Phyrexian Delver, 3 double black for a 3/2 zombie. When an ETBs return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, you lose life equal to that card's CMC. It's great.
It puts in some good work.
Yeah, ETBs with reanimation is like the bread and butter of every deck I play. All right, I'm done. You guys can take back over.
The next one I have is Piper of the Swarm because I again think it's funny. It's 1 in a black, rats I control have menace. Again, I have a lot of mana rocks and generally a lot of mana that I can have access to. Has 1 in a tap, create, so it gives rats you control menace. 1 in a black, tap, create a 1/1 black rat, and then 2 double black, sack 3 rats, gain control of target creature. I just think that's funny. It's really funny to take people's like Avacins or Seedborn Muses. It's great to salt people. Salt kills slugs. I have to have more.
I honestly thought you were going to pair this with Ogre Slumlord.
Ogre Slumlord's fun, but it doesn't give me control of things.
No, but it gives you rats.
Yeah, but I can make enough rats this way. I usually, if anyone's ever playing against me, I'm going to try and bribery your Seedborn Muse. That's the whole thing I'm going to take is I'm going to, at anyone who I can, take their Seedborn Muse away from them because I have so many rocks in here and it lets me draw so many cards and do so many annoying things. And that's kind of my I play with a group of people who are all degenerates, who all, in every deck that they can put it into, have a Seedborn Muse because a lot of time it doesn't even do anything. Just untaps their mana. They don't do a thing with it. But they all run it. And that's, Brian, I'm talking to you. They all do it. So yeah, like I just, a lot of the time I'm able to use this Rat Storm pretty good. I really like it. Do you want to take this one, Slothy?
The next one is Pitiless Plunderer. It's a 1/4 human pirate for 3 and a black. Whenever another creature controlled dies, create a colorless treasure artifact token with tap and sacrifice it, add 1 mana of any color.
Its price has shot up crazy, by the way.
Oh god, yeah.
The fact
that was Chatterfang that did that.
Yeah, I still need to make a Chatterfang deck. I finally found a Chatterfang. I've never seen anyone play a Chatterfang in person. Not once. But I can't find them anywhere. Like, none of our stores had them. I don't know why. Who has these secret Chatterfang decks? I think I've complained about it 13 times on the podcast. Show yourselves.
Hello.
I have a, if you ever want to, Dan, I have a green-black choose your own adventure commander deck because it's multiple different versions of like it's Slimefoot or Chatterfang or the other green-black aristocrat commanders.
Love that.
Mm-hmm. It's cool. It does things.
I like that. Lotus, you want to take this one?
Yes, Shadow Mage Infiltrator. 1 black blue for a 1/3 human wizard with fear. Whenever Shadow Mage Infiltrator deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. Yeah?
It's good.
This card gets immense. It's huge. We have Slaughter Specialist, 1 in a black for a 3/3 Vampire Warrior, which is already great stats on a card. A 2 mana 3/3 is already good stats, like especially compared to like older Magic cards. There's nothing wrong with that. Even if it was a generic 3/3 at 2 mana, almost worth running, especially as a vampire and warrior. It does a lot. But when it enters, each opponent creates a 1/1 white human creature token. Hilarious because it makes me 4 slugs. And then on top of that, whenever a creature an opponent you control dies, put a 1/1 counter. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a 1/1 counter on it. So with Toxrill out on turn 1, this becomes a 7/7.
3, 6.
No, 6/6, sorry. Again, I play in a bigger group. But still, the fact that it becomes a 6/6 and nets you an extra creature at 2 mana, it's huge. And the longer this sticks around, the better. And if they have any 1/1s or anything like that, then it's even worse. So if you have a bunch of people who are just about to, again, if you're playing against an elf deck or something that has low creatures, a lot of like a token deck, this could potentially come out as a 2 mana 15/15.
I mean, even if you just have this and Toxrill, you're going to get 9 power for 2 mana because you get 3 slugs, 3+1 counters, and a 3/3 body.
Yeah.
So 9 power for 2 mana is awesome.
Yeah, Slaughter Specialist really, really does work, especially at like a 59 or 50 cent card, whatever it is. Like it's a great card for any of those decks that are mass killing things, like any Grave Pack kind of deck. It just really can put in so much work.
And it comes in black and white.
I do like all of the black and white ones. Zach's not wrong.
Oh, the next one. I'm so glad you put the next one in. This one makes me happy.
You have to. And spoiler alert, this card should have partner with it. This would be hilarious if you could partner them together and it was legendary. That's how the deck should be made. R&D messed up.
So
I just love that. I'm sorry, Liz. I just love that we were all three talking about this card earlier. Yeah. Lotus brought it up, and then I was like, "Oh, this is amazing!" And then here we are.
I remember when this card was first spoiled with Toxrill. Well, Toxrill was spoiled, and you came to me with the judge questions on this, and I was like, that's disgustingly the same. So anyone that's listening, going, "What the hell are we on about?" Sludge Monster, 3 blue for a 5/5 horror. When Sludge Monster enters the battlefield or attacks, put a slime counter on up to 1 other target creature, and then a separate ability: non-horror creatures with slime counters on them lose all abilities and have base power and toughness 2/2.
This is how you kill Avacyn.
Yeah, they lose all their toughness. Well, Toxrill is just going to annihilate the board with this thing.
Yeah, you think you have something. Say if you think your Ulamog is fine, no, it's not. Your Ulamog is a slug.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll become base power 2/2 with no abilities with a -1 counter for it.
Slugamog. If theoretically Slugamog dies, will it shuffle back in or does it have no abilities?
Has no abilities.
That's hilarious.
My favorite thing about every scenario you give, Dan, is like there are people who play Magic, and then there are people that play whatever format of Commander you play.
Animals.
Like,
the people I play with are animals. They're all bad people.
I go out of my way to avoid Eldrazi's unless they have Devoid. Like those are the only Eldrazi that I like.
I play with a Concordant Crossroads Piper of the Storm player. Like
that's what I'm saying.
Elvish Piper, sorry, yeah. Like I play with bad people who like to try and get those cards in as early as they can.
Like I'm like, oh, like Avacyn, okay, yeah, like that seems like a reasonable thing. I would see not everyone in my play group is, shoving Seaborn Muse in every deck. Like
all of the people I play with, it's all things like Gallia, where they just like have like turbo equipment decks, or it's like I play with a lot of Vadrik. I've seen a lot of Vadrik in my current meta right now, where they're trying to like make their instants and sorceries so cheap, and no, not at my table. Fun is for me.
I have to like go on a tangent for just a second because it's relevant to this. So last night I was talking about wanting to go to my LGS, and I was like, well, I have my Torok deck that I just sleeved up. I was like, I'm not sure if it will hurt people's feelings or not, so I'm not sure if I should take it. And like Lotus and I were having like this ethical conversation. It's like, oh well, I'll take my pet deck of Carador. I'll take Gyrus because it's like a low power. And, like a lot of people don't really play Gyrus. I'll take Volo, and then I'll take a Precon, just so I have like a wide range, right? Because these are new people I'm playing with. And I can just see Dan over here like, oh, I'm just taking Toxrill. It's fine. It's fine. No, no big deal.
A lot of the time, that's the other thing. We got to do an episode soon on like the pregame talk, because a lot of people have talked about it. And I think a lot of people have a bad opinion on it. But a lot of times I will just tell people, like, I'm going to play Toxrill. I'm trying to make slugs. And a lot of people are like, okay. And I don't know, maybe they just are afraid to tell me that they don't want all their creatures to die and be slugs, but it happens a lot. So don't be afraid to say that you don't want to play against something if it's there, because this deck's not fun. It's fun for me. I think it's hilarious the whole time. Every time something comes out and they think the Toxrill's gone and then I still have the mana to replay Toxrill, it's hilarious. It is such a funny deck. It wrecks creature decks. I did, somebody played a Krenko deck into this. One of the most fun times I've ever had.
Oh no!
Yeah, I loved it. Loved every part of it. They targeted me for the rest of the night.
When I go to an LGS, I normally take 4 decks. I'll sit down and I'll open up all the boxes and say, "These are my commanders. This is what they do. What do you want to play against?" Because I don't give people that option. I mean, they're all similar power level. Like, it just depends if I want to sandbag a little bit to fit in with the meta, because I would rather play a game than win a game. I will sandbag to lose if it means I get to enjoy a game.
We'll go into it deeper on another episode, but my general question is, what kind of a game do you guys want to play? Do we all want to have fun? Do we want to see like an entertaining combo come off? Like, do you want to see a creative deck? Do you want to play a high power deck? Like, what do you guys want to play? And then I play based on that and everything like that. Like I don't try generally categorize it into like power levels of like, hey, this is going to be like a 9, because as that article I wrote a while back is, I don't think people honestly rate their decks. And a lot of times, like, my playgroup's 9 is not another playgroup's 9. And it leads to a really bad time where people don't like they don't like games like that. So I just ask what people are like. Do they want to just kind of kick back, relax, play like creatures? Like what do you guys want to do? Because I have enough decks to play pretty much anything, right? If people want to just like have silly Magic and like chat with their friends, that's fine. If we all want to sit around and have some beers and play games, again, also fine. It's all about what the table wants over what I individually want to do. That being said, this deck, I want to have fun. I want to make myself laugh, and I do that by killing everyone's creatures. If you play a creature deck in a Toxrill, terrible time. If you play Spellslinger, you're great. You're good to go. Although you would not get that Stegosaurus monster. I was going to say something different. Yeah. What is that card's name?
The Temur one?
Yeah. Can't remember.
Lotus has it. It's the one that she puts in vehicles. Calamax.
Calamax, yeah.
Calamax.
Lotus beat me with Calamax. Beat my
Mhm.
booty.
Yeah, that was one hell of a spell slinging deck.
Yeah, that was a good time. Lotus had
All right,
answers that time. Let me tell you though,
we've
you don't have
tangent-
answers to Toxrill in that deck.
We've tangent enough. I'm going to finish these last 2 cards and then we can do like some closing thoughts because I feel like this is starting to run long. So we're on Spark Double. Love this card. Play this card in every deck. That's blue. It's 3 and a blue for an illusion. It's a 0/0. You can have it enter the battlefield as a copy of a creature or planeswalker you control, except it comes in with an additional +1/+1 counter on it if it's a creature, or a loyalty counter if it's a planeswalker. And if the thing you copy is a legendary permanent, this permanent is a legendary. Love it. It's great. We're getting 2 Toxrills every time with this.
That is, it is for Toxrill. You're not wrong.
I was gonna say, if Dan says it's not, he's a bullface liar.
Yeah, there's lots of things. Like I said, the Revel in Riches is just there again because I think it's funny too. I like to hold the table hostage. That's the real point of it. I think it's hilarious to have like 20 treasures, sacrifice them all, and not win. Be like, sorry, we're still playing. But Spark Double does have to come down as Toxrill. Like you can't just be like, I will make a second Phyrexian Delver. No, it's Toxrill.
I mean, I would make a second for Phyrexian Delver, but you know, I'm a man of class.
Yeah, but I think you haven't seen the tears in your friend's eyes from playing Toxrill and then having a second Toxrill.
Well, I haven't, but we're gonna try that with Mimeoplasm. All right, last card, Zilliport Cutthroat, 1 black for a human rogue ally, 1/1. When Zilliport Cutthroat or another creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life, you gain 1 life. We're aristocrating in this deck, so it makes sense he's in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's your Toxrill deck. I have one major complaint about it. I think it's funny as well, and I think you give people the ability to potentially draw out of your nonsense with Well and Howling Minds. I will give you that, but my only concern is there's not enough reanimation.
Yeah, well, I looked at it when I was building it, and I was like, I could really go hard into like a mill theme where I mill and bring everyone's creatures back, like a lot more board wipes, a lot more recursion and stuff. And I think that is a stronger deck. I think that
I wouldn't even go mill.
Just people losing their creatures. A deck like that is my brother Connor likes to play decks like that a lot. And any deck that is like cloned based or reanimating other people's based, it's kind of hard to actually be salty at because like I'm playing your creatures. Like, what don't you like about this? This is your deck. Like, what don't you enjoy, right? So a clone theme of this would be hilarious. Like just like really, really Sakashima, like rites of replication on the Sakashima to make like 80 Toxrills. Like I think that'd be funny. Like, but you really could go deep into like the reanimate theme, and I think it would really, really function well because you have your board wipe on the table.
Right. So I was even thinking, like not even reanimating other people's stuff, but reanimating Toxrill. So like getting to the point where you can do something as silly as like command beacon Toxrill and then pitch Toxrill, reanimate Toxrill, like turbo Toxrill out, and then really make people sad. I think that's really funny because that's very reasonable to do.
Someone tried to Marik my Toxrill, and I sacrificed him to himself.
That's very
sacrificed
reasonable.
My androgynous slug to itself. I didn't put a lot of protection in it. I feel like if you run the interaction to kill Toxrill, you deserve to kill Toxrill.
I want to just kill Toxrill every single time, or make copies of Toxrill, so you have to deal with it too.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason not to clever impersonator.
Slugs, yeah.
There's no reason not to clever impersonator a Toxrill. Like
that would be funny because again, it's how can I be mad? It's such a funny play.
I do like the way you've built your deck. There are some things I'm probably going to steal and incorporate into mine.
Yes.
But as you said before, mine does take a different turn with proliferate.
Yeah, even when you showed me the list, I was like, "What are you proliferating?" You're like, "The counters that your guy puts on." I was like, "Oh, that thing." Oh, the other part of the card that isn't slugs?
Yeah, so, I'm running things like Yawgmoth Thram Physician, Flux Channeler, Deep Glow Skate, Inexorable Tide, things like that.
Well, and you run some Planeswalkers too, right? So they're also a good proliferation target. Again, there's not a right or wrong way to like build Toxrill. I think I can't think of a way that wouldn't be fun if you're playing Toxrill. If you're playing it, I can't think of a way that's fun to play against.
Something I just thought of that you should think about and really think about is Coat of Arms.
I thought about it. I've thought about it,
That
but
was-
I've hosed myself with Coat of Arms many times.
I understand.
I have
but, like,
PTSD from playing Coat of Arms.
I just think it's so funny to be like, all right, I have 20 slugs, coat of arms.
The initial version of the deck had what was the card? The Achroma's Memorial.
Mm-hmm.
Like
That's also really funny.
Yeah, everything. I was like, let's. I kept saying like, fly my slug army, and that didn't go over well with the table at all.
Let loose the slugs of war.
Yeah.
What about Drowsy Monument, giving them all indestructible and flying?
And then I put, I think it's Tetsuko Umaziwa, whatever it's.
Yeah,
I've probably butchered that card where they're unblockable, and I think that's hilarious too, because I like to, again, for anyone who's ever played with me or watched me play on stream, I have one style of politics, and it's threatening everyone. It doesn't even make sense. A lot of the time, I'm not even ahead in the game, and I'm talking trash to everyone at the table. I'm like, you do that, you're gonna die. Everyone's like, I'm playing a land. I'm like, do it. It's done. It's over.
I've just learned to tune you out.
Yeah.
Like
the first few times, Zach took it very personally. He was just like, whoa, come, I'm just trying to play it. Now he's like, no, shut up. I'm doing it. No.
I took it as a challenge. It's like, go on then.
I've learned with playing with Dan that everything that you want to do, like, he wants to have fun the way he wants to have fun. So the best way to basically win against Dan is have more fun than him at the table.
Yeah.
And I know I've done that, and it's made you mad at times because you're like, dude, what? And I was like,
come on,
I'm
man.
sorry. Like, I had more fun than you. Sorry. Like, that's how it is. Like,
you're not wrong. That is the way to beat me.
it is. Like, I've tried to kill myself many times with my Greven deck. And I remember the game we were playing, you were playing your, what's his name? The 5-color,
Kenrith.
Kenrith.
And I can't give you life.
Yeah, like, that was super funny. Like, I literally tried to kill myself with Greven because I knew Dan wouldn't let me kill myself, because that means I would have won and he would have lost. Not the game, but the internal game.
Well, a lot of people who play against me spend the game trying to interrupt what I'm going to do. But I don't really run like the interaction where I'm like, I'm going to I just run more of what I want to do. So like focusing your board wipes on me, I'm still going to play Toxrill again. Toxrill, yeah. I've had him hit 14 mana or 15 mana. That's fine. He's coming out. He's getting there.
So yeah, I think we've rambled a lot this episode. Dan, this is definitely a great deck. I think it's very fun. I think it's, and by no means am I being a jerk about it, but I think it's a more casual take on a commander that you can't really play casually. You know what I mean? Like, this is a very, like,
looking at the card on its face, like when I initially started the initial list, it was a monster. I wouldn't have brought this to the table. You guys would have judged me greatly. Everyone would have been like, come on, man. Again, like we were talking, I don't know if I said it in the episode or not with the Jeweled Lotus part. Yeah, you got to just chill a little bit when you're doing this, because like you said, you can go hard with this deck.
It's very easy to do because the commander is very powerful. Like, there's a lot of fun things you can do that end up like, oh, that's really funny. But then when you actually do it at the table, it's like you realize how oppressive it actually is. That's happens to me. I'm sure it happens to you in brewing. Like, oh, I'm just going to make 6 Toxrills, and that sounds so funny. And then when you actually see it, it's like, no one's having a good time.
A big con of the deck is, like Zach mentioned, if you are a player like Zach and you have feelings for how your playgroup will feel, you probably shouldn't build a deck like this. You probably are going to upset your playgroup because they're not going to think it's as funny as you do when they can't play their creatures. And I would say 90% of commander decks are creature-based.
Carador Yamori, every time. Yeah. It's only creatures. So like, I don't...
If you are sensitive and you don't like upsetting your friends, don't build this. If you don't like to play against the whole table, like if you don't like being targeted by every player at the table, don't build this. But if you like to threaten the table and kill everyone's creatures and laugh the whole time doing it and create the ultimate garden of slug paradise, this is the deck for you then. Then it is fun.
You need carpet of flowers in this deck.
That's what I'm saying.
Just not because you want the mana, but just because you have slugs eating a flower.
Think how many flower themed things there are. Think of like the doubling season, any of those cool things where if I could put this, like if this had green, oh, let me tell you, this would be a very different deck.
I would be putting like stupid stuff in it, not because it's powerful, but just because it's funny to turn it into a slug eventually somehow, right? Like, oh, I put Wall of Blossoms in here. Well, my slugs ate it. Like,
It would be the slug garden deck. You can't really make a garden deck without green, but
right. Like that just would be funny to me. I put like Sadistic Glee in here or something and sacrifice my plants to make Toxrill bigger. It ended up being a Voltron deck, something stupid.
I'm not above building this deck with green just included. I would do that. It would be fun for me.
For you, yes.
Yeah, for me. Ramping Toxrill harder is fun. Yeah, my deck is not a super cheap deck if you look at the list cost, but again, there's an Underground Sea in it. If you don't have an Underground Sea, which I'm not fetching the Underground Sea, it doesn't do that much in the deck. It like comes down to like $300 or $400, which again isn't cheap, but
also just proxy it. Like proxy things.
That makes me feel even worse.
Oh.
Because your deck's like $738 because of an Underground Sea. I'm looking at mine at $1,100 euros, and I'm like, this is the cards I actually own.
Yeah, like I put an Underground Sea in it. Underground Sea on this is $1,000 of the deck. So the deck is really only, I was going to say $400. It's still $400. It's still like fairly expensive, but that's because there's a lot of things like we talked about. Pitiless Plunderer hitting 15. That's kind of crazy. You don't really need that card, but
same thing for Dictate, same thing for Black Markets getting up there too. There's a couple like it's the and even Massacre Worm, you know, like it's just the stuff that goes in a lot of decks that are, you know, kind of pricey. That's kind of what happens. We'll hit, you know, Commander Legends too soon, and maybe we'll see a lot of this reprinted.
There we go. I was wondering. I was looking through the list. I was like, why is it so expensive? You don't need to put Mana Vault in here.
Yeah, Mana Vault as well.
Yeah, I just had a spare Mana Vault. I finally did it. I took a deck apart. I did it. We got there.
Wow.
It's I took my Boros Angels apart. They were fun when I started playing EDH again, but they just can't keep up. Like Gisela is too high cost of a commander to really see play right now. In red and white, it's pretty hard. Like I had so much like value stuff. Like I had a Mana Crypt, I had Mana Crypt, Mana Vault, I had a Jeweled Lotus in there. I had like both of like the medallions, like Pearl and Ruby medallion, like those kind of things. Like I just had too much to try make the deck go for a deck that I just never was excited to pick up and play. And I'm sure as we've all gone over the years, we've had commanders where we just look at them, they're just not really holding up how they should.
Yeah.
I just never take them apart. I just rebuy the cards because I'm stupid. But there's better ways. Slothy, do you have any final thoughts on the deck? What you would do maybe?
Well, it's a very nice deck. If you're playing it, I want to play against this one so I can have that experience of finally playing against the Toxrill. But no, it very good. Underground Sea is a lot of money.
Yeah. You don't need it. The only land you need in this deck, Forbidden Orchard, $23. Again, pricey, but worth it. Very, very worth it.
Yeah, especially if you've got like a spare pre-con lying around.
Yeah.
Just got one sitting there somewhere.
Yeah, like it's like I said, there's definitely ways you can. I am more than willing to bet that every single person who's listening to this show right now could make this deck better. I just made it this way because I thought it's funny. But again, like there's no right or wrong way to salt your friends by killing them with slugs. There's no right or wrong way to make the slug paradise that is Toxrill's Garden.
Yeah.
That's it. It's going to upset your friends. Just play the deck if you want to make your friends mad. It's funny.
All right, cue outro.
Yeah, I was going to say bonus points if you have anyone playing goblins or elves in your meta. They'll hate you. Well, you'll wreck their whole night. They might go home. They might leave.
Don't do that.
The Krenko player left. The Krenko player picked their cards up and went home after 2 turns of the slug out. Lost all of their creatures. Stopped playing. Went home. They actually haven't come back to play since.
Yeah, don't do that to players.
I miss you so much. Yes. All right. Now I'll cue the outro. Thank you guys so much for listening. Zach, do you want to let them know where they can find our stuff?
Yes, thanks for making it all the way to the very end. Oh, Lotus, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I do. So you can catch our stuff on intoThe99.com, where it's our one-stop shop for everything, including our Discord channel, where you can talk to all of us and brew. where you can get our merchandise, our Patreon, links to our YouTube channel. And there'll be a special Brewing It Live that will be advertised soon for February with Kamigawa.
Yeah. I actually haven't been looking at the Kamigawa spoilers, but a bunch of people seem excited, so should be good. Have the official spoilers started yet, or is it just like
nope,
toaster
they'll be in
quality?
a week or two.
Why is every one of these leaks, by the way, taken on someone's like toaster? I've never seen worse quality pictures. It's insane.
Yeah, no idea.
Yeah. Follow Slothy on Instagram as well. Slothy, what's your Instagram?
Yeah, my Instagram is SlothyMTG.
Easy enough. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye, and salt your friends. Zach always says to be nice, but not this time.
See
And
ya
still be
later.
nice.
Slug it up.